Hello and welcome to Factorio. My name's Trismegistus, and this series of streams, is a series where I am attempting to build myself a standard set of blueprints. It's approaching 3,000 hours in the game now. Blimey, doesn't time fly? I've never put myself together a standardised set of blueprints like a lot of players have. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do it in a sort of a base in a book type way. Although I'm not calling the series that. Let's load the game up. And wonder why it's so quiet. Seems okay on the stream, so it must just be my headphones are a bit quiet. Yeah, excuse me, that seems better. Right, yes, so... Oh, that's a point. I was going to do oil, wasn't I? My thought on this stream, where I thought it was, I'd forgotten, was I was going to do trains, but I put these down to remind me, because actually I haven't done oil yet. Ha! Okay. Excuse me. What I need to show first, though, before we just do that, is... Well, it's a couple of things. Basically... I've been organising the blueprints, so I've been sort of putting them together because the way I'm sort of thinking about this is it's sort of like a base in a book. So this blueprint book, which I put inside a book to keep it all organised, so it's a bit it's a bit meta. But this book contains a kickstart base, and this one contains all the smelting and the mining bits and pieces. So. This one here contains all the defences stuff I've done. So I've been sort of organising them. But I also, what I did, we'll pop this out, because this should work, is I finished off the bot base, basically. So, can I put that on there as well? Or are you going to go weird on me? No, you're okay. So basically, yes, I finished off the bot base, and I just want to show it, basically. So it makes an assumption that you're going to feed in those things there on the top. So it doesn't have that in them. I may do a thing where I try and make... Because I've got another blueprint that produces the raw materials. So these ones... Oh, I can't do it. But the ones on the side here, so the iron, the copper, all those sorts of things, it produces those, but in small volumes. But my assumption here is by the time you're making this base, you've set up some smelting for copper, iron, steel, that sort of thing, and you can just feed that in. But on the right hand side there, so this bit sort of on the middle of the screen here, that obviously that's oil, and I don't have the blueprints for oil. So the reason I left them there was, I mean, we could still do it. We'd start on trains, and then if we get that done, we could do that, or maybe I could do them tomorrow. But I forgot about that. The idea is I'm going to do a test run at some point, so I'm basically going to play the game through, trying to use my blueprints and sort of working out if there's any problems or errors or issues or anything like that. But yeah, I did just want to show this off. The way I've put it together, excuse me again, the way I've put it together is that basically it's modular, but then I thought, well, people may just want to stamp it down. They don't want to mess about doing modular systems. The idea with the modularity is like for this. So if you didn't want to produce these inside this, this little base, you could do them outside. You can do somewhere else. You could use the old one that's got them in. So it gives you some options. But most people, and I would just want to stamp it down. I wouldn't want to mess about with modularity. But you could also double it up. You could double this. You could stamp this down twice. But the idea is it's a modular sort of system. So I'm going to put some... I'm in creative mode in case you've never encountered that before. Oh! Clicked entirely the wrong thing there. I'll just take them outside. So I'm going to put that... That's a cheaty power source, so it gives infinite power, basically. Yes, so then that's your sort of local production. Picked up the wrong one. So the next one then is this one. And this goes next to this. because this loops back on itself. This is taking in iron and turning it into cogs and pipes, basically. So you would feed in iron. Oh, I've not got it. You would feed in iron and do that. And it's not, this isn't, oh, I've done it again. This isn't radically different to what I was working on last week, so it's not changed particularly. It's just I've tidied it up a little bit and sort of fiddled some of the belt locations. I also did the top piece, the connector, basically. So the second one there was the production stuff. So this is assemblers and furnaces, because the idea, the first production one that you might have stamped down over here, for example, it makes your stone furnaces, but that's it, it stops there. So this then makes steel furnaces if you wanted to upgrade. And because you need to feed in 2 lanes of iron, you probably are going to want to upgrade your iron rather than build 2 entire, arrays at this stage of the game. Obviously, you're going to want them long term. I've done that again. The next one here is train stuff. So the idea being that you're probably setting up, as I say, you're melting arrays while this is being built, which, as in parallel sort of thing. You're also going to need to think long term for your base. So this is one of the reasons I was thinking about working on trains today. And this gets you your rail pieces, your locomotives, your basic stock, your cargo wagons, and the signals. Next one then, which now overlaps with this one. And that's your belts, but it goes up to your level 2 belts, because if you're putting those over the top of your existing smelters, then you need to be working with red belts. But it also makes the other things. Now these are made in the other blueprint, so I'm not storing massive volumes of these, but it makes some of these for red science, for green science. So then it also makes inserters. Again, they're already in the other blueprint, but these are more things for you to use. But it also produces them for green science again. Next off, we've got the military stuff. Now, you're probably going to want to be thinking about upgrading, if not actually upgrading. But again, this is supporting grey science. So even if you're not going to use these, it lets you do some grey science. But it has this thing here where it'll store, the excess overflow from the military science, which you're going to get quite a bit, because you're probably not going to want to run military science continuously unless you're perhaps playing on a death world. We then got the little bit that does red science. It's a bit weird because it loops back on itself, but that'll make sense later. It's obviously not ratioed, it's just what fit into the gap and gave a reasonable number and that sort of thing. And then this is your green science production. It is slightly, there's one more because it is slower, but it's, you would need 6, I think, from memory. But so we've not got the labs to really consume it at massive volumes. It's just to get you, the idea of this base is it's to get you up to bots. So next one then is the production of the materials required for blue science. So they are useful entities in and of themselves. So if you weren't going to do science here, this is why it's a separate module. If you decided you weren't going to do science, it's still going to make your red circuits and your, as you can see, your solid fuel and engines and that sort of thing. So, it's a useful module to have, even if you end up deciding to do science in a different way. This would be the science. So you've got your feed-ins for all the military... Well, I'll just place it down first. It's easy to explain. So this is the labs. This is where the red and green is coming in. So it feeds in to these ones directly here. But then this is where both your grey and your blue science are being made. Obviously, again, not ratioed and way off for blue. You're only going to get a trickle of blue out of this. But the idea is it's to get you up to bots. And you don't need that many blue sciences to get you to bots. Because once you've got bots, the next set of blueprints will let you build a proper base. This here then is, I'm sort of thinking of it as this is as extra stuff. So this is extra stuff that is useful to have at this stage in the game, even though it's going to be in relatively small amounts, and that will help you build bus, your main base, which will be a bus. For example, it's got at the bottom here, it's got the logistics chests, so that, and you can use whichever one you want, the red or the yellow. But you can then go around replacing all the wooden chests with logistics chests, so that all the bots that you're making, or the trickle of bots that you're making in reality, will be able to take stuff out of the chests and make your blueprints for you. So it's all sort of in together. As you've seen, the blueprints do include roboports, so it's all hooked up already from that point of view. But also it's got like the logic wires, the solar panels, it's got accumulators in there, it's got laser turrets, because you're probably going to want to go to those at this stage. And the first couple of modules, basically. So level 1 speed and prod. And obviously, and the idea there, in theory, it's not part of the blueprint, but you would then go around and stick those in some of these machines. So, for example, engines and red circuits, you'd probably put speeds in them because they are very slow. But then something like the sciences, you could stick prod modules in so that you get a few free ones. Not a lot, but a few free ones. So that then plops on the top there. And this is why I need to test it, because I have used the cheaty creative mode stuff to try to test it, but I'm not fully sure it works properly until we do that. This then is the bot. So this is the last part of the blueprint. And what I mainly did, so there are some tweaks with orientation, organisation and stuff. It's not massively different, but it was mainly creating each of these individual, modules. So then this one, it's got, because you're going to end up with excess heavy oil, so it's got some more solid fuel production, but this is making the bots basically. So and the roboports down the bottom there. So that's the last. Oh, that's the last one. Last one. So your bots being made here. They are being fed into a roboport which has some logistics conditions set to not massively flood. It's not just going to put millions. As you see, it's the Z and the X readings, and the Z is available construction bots, and X is available logistics bots. So it's never, you're never gonna, it's not intended to just completely fill up, the chest or anything. It's going to put 100 in the system if you saturate the demand. So if you go and lay down 1 million blueprints, it'll just keep putting bots in and bots in, construction bots in and in and in. But if you're a bit more sensible at it, it's just going to put a few in. It's not going to make them at any kind of rate either. You're just going to get a trickle. But that's fine for what you're doing at this stage. You then got I've picked up the wrong one again. This is the connector at the top here. You would have to run over, take all of these out basically. I mean, you wouldn't have them at this stage. Well, you could hand make them, I guess, but they're not part of any of the blueprints, so they probably wouldn't be there as such. But then, say this is the connector. It's going to overlap with that, isn't it? This is connector, which you can line up with the powerhouse, and that basically feeds in what it needs where it needs it. I tried to match it to the other one, but it didn't really work. So it is a slightly different order. I may do a thing that basically switches between them. So the other one that builds, no, the one in here, that makes, so the bottom row there, the smelting ones. I may do a thing that it basically swaps them over and switches round. They're not that different, but as I say, it is slightly different. Particularly the iron, you need 2 lanes of iron coming in here. We've then got, if you don't want defences, if you do want defences, there is this, which fits around your around the blueprint, as it were. It's got a garage. The idea being you're probably at tank stage here, so you've got a little garage for your tank, and of course all your stuff's there. So I was originally intending. Oh, something missing there. Oh, that must have been where I was standing, I bet. Originally intending to give you flamethrower fuel and what was the other thing? Concrete as well, but because they're completely different things, and I've not made a separate. The idea is to say there's this. You're using proper smelting, so you could set them up locally if you wanted to, but I'm not going to make a blueprint for them. But then what I also added, and I've added this to all of them, is the complete base. So this is basically, if you don't want to mess about with any of that, modular stuff, you can just slap that down and it's fine. It's separate to the military stuff because you still, if you've not got any biters on your map, in fact I might just leave that. Leave that there. If you've not got any biters on your map, you don't need to mess about with defences at all. So that's still optional. But yeah, so it was basically tidying up. There is, say, some slight changes and stuff. Like, I've ended up, I could move like this bit one tile over, which would be somewhat good in some ways because it, we've got a bit of space, but there's no real point. And these are then also, at the moment, they're nicely lined up. Obviously they aren't, but it's not. It's sort of nice to have them in straight lines, particularly with power poles, because power poles, it'll just put them in where you've put them basically. So a lot of the moment you can just literally run up and it'll put all the power poles in. So yeah, so that was what I kind of did. It was tidying it all up, and I say making the top connector. And the idea today, so I'll put that back in there if I can. It goes there, I think, and then I want to clear that. Yes, so today we're going to make train stuff, or we're going to start on train stuff. As I say, we need to do oil before I test it, because there's no point not having the oil, otherwise I can't really test this. So, trains then. We probably need a bit of space. How about we go down here and I clear out all of the trees and stuff. I haven't really used this yet, actually. Basically, this is the magic wands lets you put. So you've got an option in here, and this is when you click on them. It's like select. In fact, it's like selecting the thing. So if you click on that, then when you come to use the magic wand, it'll put that type of terrain down. So it lets you test things out. I mean, I'm not massively sure what utility that is, other than giving you what you consider to be the terrain you want. But the trains do have different pollution absorption things, so maybe that's a consideration. But I don't think it makes a lot of difference really. But yeah, it also means you can put down patches. So if you want to mess about with copper mining, you can put down a copper patch. So that's what the wonders are all about. But if you hold down shift, then it acts like a deconstruction planner, but it's not actually going to pick the stuff up. So this is what we want to do. Oops. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that as well. This is what we want to do. We'll just run over. I sometimes you can put legs in. It's a bit redundant, but I'm not. It just makes you even faster, which is good if you're trying to clear a big area. That can be sometimes useful, but so we'll just get rid of all the trees across here. It'll get rid of the resource patches as well, but that's fine. It's no great shakes. I want to leave the oil though. So if we're going to have to do oil, and we'll just sort of do up to, say, there. So all of those trees and everything, that patch will have gone, but it won't update until... Oh, will it? Is that too far south? Too far north for where I was looking? Is it still there? Oh, it's still there. Okay, fine. No problem. Right, yes, so... trains. In fact, let's set me things. Here we go. So we want stack of them. Stack of them. I guess we should take some of them. I can get rid of some of the other things though, because we're gonna fill up the inventory. So we don't really need, or do we need wooden power poles? No, like the other base, we'll assume at this stage you've upgraded to steel power poles. So they won't be a thing. We could get rid of all the resources. I don't really need them to do this. Get rid of them. Might keep the coal though in case I want to fuel the train. I don't need those anymore, do I? I just use this. It's just ensures you've got this number in, because when you're fiddling about in this mode, sometimes you end up with, you pick up a chest and it's got, you know, it's completely full of iron and it fills your inventory. So we want rail. In fact, I'll probably grab a bit more rail so that I can do bigger lengths. We've got train station. We're going to need chests, aren't we? Got chests. We're going to need all of the inserters. Well, not long-ended, but I'm not fussed about taking them out. Power poles, lights, signals. Have I got signals? I don't think I have I? No. Okay, signals then. Might also do one of these. So if we do that. Oops. No. What am you do? So put that there. There we go. And then trains themselves. What else? Power poles, I guess. But then we've got them there. Okay. So the way I normally do trains is left-hand drive, because I am from that there Britain. And in that there Britain, we drive on the left-hand side. Apparently, I heard that it was Napoleon that basically said, basically, the reason the rest of the world drives on the right, pretty much, is it was Napoleon that essentially started doing that, because we drive on the we drive on the left because it goes all the way back to knights, basically. So when you on horseback, you would have you almost certainly be right-handed, statistically speaking, and you would have your sword so that you could draw your sword. So you would be, you know, going to the left-hand side of your body. So if you're on the left-hand side, it's basically, you can basically draw and strike in one movement. I can't show you my hands, but you draw and strike in one movement if you're on the left-hand side of the road, basically. So it's a sort of it's like a defensive thing, basically. You know, in essence, that's sort of what it goes back to. Or why it was formalised as that. I don't know. You know, obviously people were using horses before there were knights with swords, but or, you know, using roads or whatever. You know, the Romans did, you know, obviously, famously. But yeah, so that's sort of why it's been standardised in the UK as that. Why it's right-hand side says Napoleon, that he was obviously not a fan of us, what with having fought lots of wars against us. And he basically just decided, right, well, I'm changing it to the right-hand side. I don't know if he was left-handed or anything, but not that familiar with it. But yeah, so, and then everywhere that Napoleon invaded, he switched it over. And then when those people, you know, colonized America or whatever, they took it with them. The French, I mean, Napoleon, he conquered like a whole chunk of Africa and all that. So it's all basically derived from that, basically. So what I normally do, as I say, when I'm doing trains, is this. So left-hand drive trains. but double-sided. So in order for a train system to be left-handed, basically the signals are always on the right-hand side in the direction of travel. That's kind of how they work. So what you would normally expect if you're doing left-hand drive trains is that the signals will always be on the inside. Now what I also like to do, and I think pretty much everyone does this, is run power poles down the middle of the train tracks so that you can basically connect up the different parts of your base. So for example, you're going to do trains out to an outpost. Say you've got your base here, you want to collect this uranium, you put a train down there, and basically you can take the power down for that outpost simply by having it come along the train tracks. So that's that. Now it's easy. You can obviously, what you can do, if you're particularly in that mood, is you can't, if you're doing left-hand drive, and one of the sort of disadvantages in the game is you can't put them that close together, right? Because you can't get the signals in. Obviously, if you're doing right-hand drive, you can entirely do that. So if you prefer that option, and you could, I mean, you don't have to run the power poles down, but you could run them, you know, along the top or along the bottom, whatever. In fact, that's probably more realistic to how actual trains are. You know, when you think about it. Obviously, with the exception of the, you know, the signal side, in the UK they are on the right, you know, because that's how it operates basically. I think. No, they're actually, well, they're either, I would guess. So you can't do this if you're doing a left-hand drive system, and I have tried doing right-hand drive. It confuses the heck out of me, so I will have to do left-hand drive trains. And as I say, the other option you could do if you went left-handed but you wanted it sort of tighter, trains operate on a 2x2 grid versus the 1x1 grid. That is, so, you know, this is effectively this is a 1x1 grid, and then the trains are a 2x2 grid, so I can't overlap them fully because it snaps to a 2x2 grid. Actually, let's do that. Yeah, so that's twice the size of that, basically. So, and it snaps to it. It's a bit like the blueprinting system they did, where it snaps like relative and stuff. So you can't half, and the reason it snaps is to stop you doing accidental half lanes, so that because you only have one curve. If you've never trained before in Factorio, you only have one type of curve, and if these were half lane, so in other words, let's simulate it with belts. If you were able to put a belt there and a belt there, you can, because these do 90-degree curves, you can have them interact. Because you've only got one type of curve, if you were to offset them so that this was, you know, the bottom, as it were, was lined up with that one, you wouldn't have any way of connecting them. You would effectively have two completely different rail systems. Now you may not want them to interact, but you wouldn't be able to interact them. That would be the issue. So the other option with the train side of things, I say, because you can't, I can only put it there or there, so I can't put it half a rail distance apart. So I couldn't have that rail signal and then a rail signal there with them, you know, filling the gaps, as it were. So this signal, you know, I can't move this up in such a way that these are literally next to each other. They have to be, so, you know, you can always put them together like that. But you could put them like that, and then you would either, you know, you've got three options then. You can run your power on either side, or you can still put it in the middle. You just can't put it where those are. And that's the reason I go with the 4 distance apart primarily. You do have another option if you're doing it like that, in that you can run roboports down the middle then as well. I mean, obviously, if you've got your power poles here, you just run your roboports down the side. So, you know, it's not that's not. I don't see that as massive benefit. It's just a thing you can do if and when you need to, nice and conveniently. And Roboport ranges are longer than the power poles, so for these two to be connected, they can be all that way apart, and the two power poles cannot connect. So if you're running the Roboports, you know, down the power lines of a train line like that, you know you're never going to have any connection issues. And even round a corner, so if you end up, you know, like that and like that, then you know, you just automatically, because you're using power poles at, you know, their maximum distance, there's basically no way for you to fail to connect those two networks. You know, if you put that there, you know, it's the same. The only way you wouldn't be able to connect them is if you put them, if you tried to avoid the corner, but why would you do that? Right, yes, so what all of that rambling is basically saying is that the way I usually do trains is to 1 4 1. Oh. First chat from Brerin. If you're on steel power poles, you can add solar panels in between the rails, a small amount of passive power. A fun design is to include a decent power gain for solar in that dead space. Yeah, I say, you know, you have options basically of, you know, all sorts of options. Welcome, by the way. Thank you for the chat. Welcome to the stream. I don't tend to do that with the solar panels. It's certainly a, you know, I've seen some quite nice looking bases where they've done that. I tend to go with a more dedicated, you know, solar build. Oops, made that a mess. And just put them down, you know, in big solar fields basically. But yeah, I mean, you can run solar panels down the middle. And obviously you've got your... Did I get some accumulators? Don't think I did I? No. Yeah, you can put them, and then they in particular, you can fit two together. And it is dead space in a way. You know, it is a very good point that you know, you're effectively wasting the space. One of the reasons I don't do it is you tend to have to, because you've got signals on both sides. So if I ran them down there, I mean, you can, in fact, it wouldn't matter really because I'm putting them in line with the power pole. But you know, you couldn't have a signal on both sides, so it can be a bit of a pain in the bum. But yeah, you can do some interesting things with that. The other issue with it is getting the ratios. I tend to try to do them at ratio. I'm not that good at the maths all the time. But it can be tricky to get the ratios right. And also, obviously, we're going to do different types of corners and diagonals, and you know, and putting power, the solar panels in them, and as I say, getting the ratios right can be a little bit painful. Obviously, you could just put solar panels down them, and as you say, you can use the medium power poles, or these I think fit in slightly better usually. You can run them along, have solar panels between them. As you say, put your things in like that, or wherever you wanted to do them. But yeah, so I don't tend to bother with that myself. So yeah, so the basic one, what we're going for here is a repeating unit, basically. And one of the things to note, if say you've never played about with the signals before, etc., is you can't ever put them directly next to each other. But it does mean, because you're putting a 1x1 item on a 2x2 grid, there's like a... So in other words, you could put that signal there. Why is it saying that? Oh, train. Oh, it's already put one on. But then if you have that as a repeating unit, these aren't going to match up properly. So if we do this as... I say we'll do it as a proper blueprint. But when you have it, you know, those aren't going to match, basically, those signals. So you have to be a little careful with that, with some of the things. Oops. Now, what you can do, there are obviously different thought processes, but you can obviously make a unit, because this is the standard train length that I usually work with. Fun way to mix up your standard rail system. Yeah, I say all sorts of options. I'm going fairly basic, just because that's just what I prefer, basically. But I say I tend to go with a 141 train with it backwards and forwards type operation. Now it's wasteful in a way because this is effectively dead weight. This second carriage, if it's driving in this direction, it's effectively having to pull this extra thing. I'm not entirely sure why I do it anymore because they fixed a lot of the issues that I was having with single-sided trains. Because single direction trains, you obviously have to do more loops because otherwise you're going to get. So when you do a station, for example, your station basically has to be a loop of some description. I don't know why I've done those. Probably like that. No. However you do it, up to you. Lots and lots and lots of options for doing train stations. But there has to be some kind of, loop in a sense, or junction off. And obviously, well, I guess you could stick rigidly to it always being on one side, but you're going to want to do multi-direction junctions for things coming in, so you're going to end up with some kind of loop or feedback on itself. And I always just find that it didn't used to work brilliantly, although I would say they did fix a lot of the issues. So yeah, I tend to do the 141 train, or when it's scale, when we scale up, or when I may not do bigger blueprints. I think I'll probably just stick with 141s. But I've obviously done 242s and 484s and all this sort of stuff. But for this set of blueprints for this base, this standardised system for me, I'm going to stick with the 141, and then so all stations will be basically in and out stations. So obviously not this, but the idea being it pulls up to the station and then pulls out, and so the train is effectively turning round every time it does a station. A lot of the arguments over, I know people say one's faster than the other. A lot of that's rubbish. Basically, it's a lot more to do with how you design it than any kind of fundamental thing, apart from, as I say, that this is effectively dragging dead weight with it. So it will be slower, but the eventual compensation from braking speed and nuclear fuel kind of renders it irrelevant. Now, what you can do, one of the things a lot of people do, is they try and make sure that their rail unit is the same length as their train, or half the length. The reason being that effectively these create, and what rail signals do, should I try and explain rail signals? I know how they work, but I really struggle sometimes to explain it, because it's a bit like the offside rule in football, but yeah, where it's like, it's simple, but it's really complicated to explain, or I find it complicated to explain. But basically, each signal creates a block, and the idea being that only one train entity, or part of a train, or thing that sits on a track, can occupy a single block. So while there is any kind of train, as I say, or train entity or whatever, in this block, this will always be a red signal. That applies both to chain signals and rail signals. The difference really with the two types is that a rail signal will only ever look forward into the block ahead. So, that's not quite true. The reason it has the thing there is it's basically because the trains are going to travel at quite a speed. It sort of reserves the block essentially, And that's what you can have yellow signals here that it's saying this block is reserved because there's a train about to come through, but it's not actually here yet. It's not technically in the thing. There are ways of cheating to get, because actually they will stop basically instantly trains, but in practice, how you're meant to think of it is they will keep going. They have momentum. But what a chain signal does is it looks forward basically, so it will essentially copy back the signal. So if I put a regular signal there, it's green because in this block there is no train. So then the block that's been created, actually let's get that up again, there is no train in there, so it's green. With a chain signal, it looks forward and it says, well, what's happening in the block in front of me, but also what's happening in front of the block of that. And this is a way of, if you've got crossing signal, and the reason you have this, if you've got crossing tracks, it lets you, because what can happen, what you're trying to avoid with every train system is basically something stopping across a junction. Because if it's stopped across a junction, that any other train trying to go in any other direction is blocked, so it can't go anywhere, which causes your entire system to logjam, potentially, depending on its scale and number of trains you've got. Because one of the things I think I struggle with trains is that they're dumb. They are spectacularly dumb, in fact, which is good from a coding point of view because it reduces the complexity and therefore improves the performance. And also means they can't, if it's super simple, they're not going to mess up the code, by accident. Well, they're going to do that less. But I say the trains are super dumb. So what I tried to do when I was first learning trains, basically, is I would have crossover junctions where I was like, well, imagine these are both going in the same, they're not opposite directions, but I would have junctions where, come on, auto track, there you go, where I was trying to do things like this, where I thought I was giving the trains options about which way to go. So if they're two trains, travelling in this direction, and there's another train here, and it's obviously then got a signal behind it saying don't go down here, and you would have signals here and whatever. I thought what would happen is, actually these would be chains, wouldn't they? It would come to here and it would say, right, this is blocked, so go this way, and this would give all the trains lots of options for switching tracks in order to stop them queuing up behind each other. The trouble is, what happens is when you're going from a station, to another station, say over here somewhere, basically that route is pre-planned when it sets off, and it'll only recalculate the route if it's basically, there is a, it says on the wiki, I think, the exact conditions, but basically if this train was sat here for like an hour or something, it's not that big, but if it was sat there for ages and ages and ages, it would say, right, let's recalculate the route, and it would say, right, I can't come down here because there's a train blocking it, and it has like penalties assigned to it, so it basically says the penalty because there's a train here is 1,000 or whatever the numbers are, so therefore it will eventually pick that track, but it has to be sat there for quite a while. It won't set off the route it's decided on, which will almost certainly be the shortest route, accounting for the signal costs of the system and all that sort of stuff. It'll say, right, this is my route over here. I bet these won't connect, will they? You're going to connect there? No. Done that dumb. Imagine that was connected up there. It won't then say, as it's travelling along and coming to this signal, it won't say, oh, train there, switch track. Instead, it'll wait, and it will literally, you do get situations where it will just literally wait there. Because this train may not have been there when it calculated its route, it's stopped in that process. And so it will stop at this junction, it won't go anywhere. And it's like, oh, And I think they did actually fix a lot of these things, that it will dynamically calculate it better. But certainly you do get it in, you can still see it in stackers where you'll have, you know, a set of trains stacked up. And, you know, another train will come in and basically queue behind another train rather than picking, you know, say there's a train on this. And it will come in and queue behind it. And you'll be like, why have you done that? And so you can sort it to a degree by if you have chain signals behind sets of rail signals, it'll probably make it'll probably get there at the chain signal, and then it'll recalculate and it'll say, right, go on this track. So they have done a lot of optimization and fixes on that sort of stuff. But a lot of this stuff is so rooted in my brain that I can't think my way around it. Or I have ways of doing things and I just stick with them. But yeah, so you can make these the same size as your trains. And the idea then being that essentially a single train fits in a block, and that lets you have more of them queue up in a smaller density, smaller area rather. So these could sit right close up next to each other, and if you needed to have them queue in, you know, you could fit more in. Whereas with how I'm going to do it, based on the power piles, this would effectively occupy 2 blocks when it's sat still. I don't think it makes a great deal of difference, so I just prefer a system where I can lay them down according to the power pole length. You can another option is doing them half length, so half train length, and there it would. What that effectively lets you do is, because of the system where it won't move into a block until there's nothing in that block, this obviously could start moving, and when it got half its length along, the next train would start moving. So that does improve flow, but obviously you're talking about putting a lot of extra signals into your system for probably no real benefit until you're at like megabase scale. So it's sort of a bit pointless, so I don't bother. What you can do is like offset them like that, and then you've got blueprints that are rotatable, because there's a quirk with trains, is the other thing, is that it won't let me flip these. Now, I think it won't let you flip them because otherwise you might accidentally put things in the wrong place, I think. When I really thought about that, it doesn't actually make sense. Because if I was to flip this blueprint, all that would actually be happening is these signals would swap over. So the signals would move to there. That is the flipped mirror image of this blueprint. This is a perfectly valid train setup. Obviously, it might cause you issues in the sense that the signals aren't going to match and stuff like that, but that's a personal issue that is in for your particular application there. It's not fundamentally, this is a perfectly valid train system, so I'm not entirely sure why they don't let you flip them. Even with stations, I don't think it matters. So if would it matter? And they could just put a block on flipping stations. You don't necessarily like they have with oil. Now the oil one, no flipping does make sense because the input points are fixed. That flipped over is not. So if it's a recipe like, wrong example, if it's that one, water is always at the top. It's at the bottom there, but that's rotated, that's not flipped. So if you flipped it, water would suddenly be at the bottom, so it would break everything. So that's why I don't let you flip them. But so if that was that, if we flipped it, the station would be there, wouldn't it? I suppose it would. I suppose that maybe maybe it is the stations then, because that is different to that in the sense that if you flip that, the behaviour you would be expecting is that that would then be a station for the other direction, maybe? But it's still a perfectly valid place. Obviously, it's physically, in terms of the model, as it were, it's a different one, but it's still perfectly valid placement. So what if you did the other type of flip? So it flipped from the bottom one to the top. Again, that's a perfectly valid placement. I say it's backwards in the sense that you could have trains. No, it still works, doesn't it? It's not an issue. So I don't quite know why they block you flipping then, but they do. Especially with the 2x2 grid. I don't see why you couldn't flip stations. Flip rail, but they don't let you do it. Now, I say this is better as a blueprint because it's rotatable as well. Then, so I'm going to try and work with this. I haven't usually done this. Usually, I do put them opposite each other. So this may go wonky, and I may have to go back on it. But I say I'm going to do this because I realised eventually that this was a better, better way of doing it. But say I've never actually done it, or I think it's a better way of doing it. I may be completely wrong with that. But we want it to snap to grid. We want it to be relative, and then we want these two. I say I may well be completely wrong with this notion, but I'm going to try. And that's the whole point of this series, really. It's sort of testing out some of these new ideas that I've got. Because I don't usually build this thing I was working on here. It's not how I do it. So I'm basically building something, standardising something that is not actually how I normally do it. But the reason was I did a whole Megabase series. And I spent loads of episodes just doing the normal base. And I sort of kind of and because I was designing it every time, and I was like, well, the reason it's like this is because you don't have standard blueprints. So maybe you should make some standard blueprints, and then you could have another go at Megabase, where it doesn't take you 30 episodes before you even launch a rocket. Not that I'm complaining about that. It was just it was just sort of an observation from it, really. Yeah. So this is hopefully our straight piece of rail. I guess I could do a double length one. In fact, yeah, let's do it as a double length one. It's identical. Like that. But if we do that, should I have it? If I do that, because it'll tile into itself. Like that. Oh, these aren't properly aligned now, are they? Did I do that properly? The signals? Because I don't want to have one bit that's wrong. There you go. But it just gives me more options if I just want to add on half a length, if it's just a thing, and then it doesn't matter if I'm just overlapping. Yeah, we'll give that a go. So that's a standard piece of thing. What I'm also going to do, I think, is blueprint the train itself. Again, this is not something I would normally do. Oops. One too many. I'm not going to include the fuel, though. So it should be that. And that should be trains. I'm not going to put... don't want the signal. Can I trim that down slightly? Is that going to be okay? You're going to be wonky. I should actually align it up properly, shouldn't I? So I'll just put that in for the time being. So again, this is not something I would normally do, but if it's meant to be a standard system, then it's kind of worth, I think, making it clear what the standard system is. What I'm actually going to do is just temporarily, it's not going to be part of the blueprint, but if I put that on, like, oops, like that. And we know it will line up properly with the tracks. So if we redo that, so we'll do that. And that should be nicely lined up with the tracks, I think. So we've got the trains, and I guess we can leave the track in it, might as well, but you don't really need it. Yeah, so we want that one. And then we'll also put... I'll put a fluid wagon in as well, separate one. Yeah, go on, why not? Why not? So we grab that. We want the trains. We want the things there. Cool. And we should also create a new blueprint book. Put that there. Tap that on there. Open that. So we've got... That's that one. That's that one. That's that one. Cool. Okay. So if we do... Maybe if we do like corners and stuff next. How do I want to arrange them? Let's chop this back a bit. About to run into the oil patch. Oops. Right, so by corners I just literally mean 90-degree corners. Oops. In fact, let's do... Oops. So I think you do 2. No. Just the one? Is that even? I don't think that's even, is it? But the point really is, if I'm got this one as well, how do I want it to line up? I guess what would be most useful is for it to fit in a single thing there. So it fits in to the square that is defined by... So it's something like... Oh, you're going to be weird, aren't you? With distances. So what would it look like? It would be... So if that's the middle, so it'd be something like down there. So it needs to sort of fit in, yeah, into that space. So this power pole needs to be there. Is it then 45 degrees? Not sure. Why don't I just straight line it? Like that. And then we've got, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this is way off, isn't it? 2, 3, 4, 5. Crikey. So 6, 7, 8. So 6, 7, 8. So actually this needs to be there. Does that look like 45 degrees? Oh. Get rid of that. Oh yeah, in terms of flipping, I'm right, but you can actually flip just rail. I say it's the signal. So if I'm hitting, you can't really tell, but I'm hitting both F and G key, so you can flip the rail itself. But it's just if it has signals on it. But I say when I was trying to think it through, it didn't seem to make sense. What I was going to do there was check that if I rotate that. No, so that's in the wrong place, isn't it? That's not. Why is that in the wrong place? So that's too far up. Got to be a better way of doing this. Let's use a bit of belt to measure it. So if that's that. So it's the right hand side. Yeah, so that's 45 degree properly now. I think. So if I copy and paste that. Yeah, cool. I don't know why I made that so painful, but there you go. Right, so that one there and that one there. Except that didn't work because, of course, it's the 2x2 grid. Typical. So where do we want it that would achieve the same sort of effect? Because that's the actual. There. So maybe if I move that 1 and 1. So then the corner, we can have power basically on the diagonal. That's sort of what I'm aiming for, without being too far away. So these would be the connecting points. Okay. So that's the actual point that they meet. So what we need then... Oh, well, there we go. There we go. And then we want that one there. No. That one there. There we go. That looks nice and neat and tidy. It's because I've got, with the creative mode, you have like hugely boosted mining speed. So it's picking the rail up without me hardly clicking on it. So does that look okay? I mean, it looks like a bit of a big gap. So maybe we could go, if we went one further in, would that look a little bit sort of prettier? So rather than... Does that look better? Yeah, I think I prefer that looks-wise. So I am going to be a bit finicky with a lot of this stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It should rotate, I think, as well, and still connect up. We'll have to check all that. So if that's the corner... I haven't got that signal. Oh, there we go. So that's the corner piece, in theory. Now, let's see what it does. So you've got that corner, you've got that corner, you've got that corner, you've got that corner. Does the other one connect to all of them? It connects there, that's fine. Connects there, 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 connects there. Yeah, so it's perfect. If we were using that then, so if we put that in that book there, what would it look like? So we do a piece of rail, put a corner on, another bit of rail. Looks good. It is shorter. Would that be any kind of an issue? I think it'd be okay. Because we'll end up using this for the T-junction as well, as the basis of a T-junction. Yeah, okay. In fact, let's do the T-junction, I guess. I need to think whether I want to do crossroads as well. I tend to try and avoid crossroads like the plague. Because they're pretty horrendous for throughput usually. Right, so if we were turning this into a T-junction, then we would probably want something like that. I guess that might be an issue, because that's not going to match, is it? Because if you're putting a T-junction in, what effect would that have? So if this is a straight rail to start with, you know, you've got it straight rail and you say, right, no, I want a T-junction here. So really it needs to kind of sit in the middle or something like that. So that corner, as it were, is actually off place from that. That's fine, I think. Because this one should fit in sort of anywhere that you want to put it in. So if you wanted to suddenly add a junction off like that, one way, I guess we need that one as well. So a split off rather than a junction. A T-junction rather. In fact, let's just leave that over there to remind me. But yes, this one, so we can't flip it, but we can rotate it. So that would then connect there. How far are these? So this is 1, 2 power poles apart. This is also 1, 2 power poles apart. So that looks like it's central, I think. But which are the original lines? So this is the original power pole. So it's not this one that we want. If we keep them, then you can come in and you can plop this in the centre of these two, which is what you would ideally do. You may end up having to fiddle about with it, but that's always the way. Because if you want it slightly off centre, but hopefully you would be able to put it slap bang in the centre of that existing line. The question then is, does it have different signals? By which I mean, if you're putting it in the centre of an existing line, it's got rail signals in it. But obviously, you're probably actually going to want... Because a lot of people... So one of the issues with trains, or one of the things, you know, one of the rules of thumb is the whole... oh, I always say it the wrong way around. What is it? Chain in, rail out. Is that right? I can never. I don't tend to like follow it. I tend to do them sort of myself each time. But where the idea is that you have a rail signal, or is it the other way around? Rail in, chain out. Oh, I forget. But basically, what you're trying to avoid, as I said before, is you don't want trains stopping in the junction. So you don't want a train, you know, stopping here, ideally, and completely blocking the station. What you really want at the junction, not the station, what you really want is for trains, if they've got to make this, if this train wants to get to here, you know, there's a station, you wouldn't have a station here, but it's going to a station further down here, so it needs to cross over this junction. You don't want it stopping here because there's another train here, or it's blocked, or blah blah blah, because then it blocks the entire junction, and any train trying to do any kind of other, particularly with these being 141s, trying to do any other kind of direction is blocked. It can't go anywhere, and that's not what you want. So you want trains, if they're going to wait outside the junction as a general point. The thing with that, and you can then, you know, you put these together in such a way that you know, you avoid trains going into the junction. But there are sort of exceptions where, for example, if a train, this being left-hand drive, is going across this way, then it doesn't really block anybody. I mean, it sort of does, but it doesn't really have that much of an impact because, you know, if you did stop here blocking this junction, it's probably stopped because there's another train here, in which case a train coming this way and trying to turn that way, it's not going to be able to cross over the junction anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really block anything if it's across there. What you don't want is it stopping trains going that way or, you know, that way or whatever. It's a bit like that cool American thing where it's like you can turn left on a red signal. You've got rules like that you kind of want to try and build in theory. And also, what's really the problem is the after junction. So you don't actually really necessarily want to plot this in the middle with the possibility that trains... Because a reason a train would stop here is because there's a train here. Well, that means there's not really enough room for a train. You want plenty of room. You want your trains here rather than here, if you see what I mean. So it's more about the distance on the other side, usually, rather than... so there's... I've not really explained that properly again, but basically, what we want to do, what we would want to do, ideally, is kind of replace these signals, or some of them, with chain signals. And what I normally do, and it's like the super cautious thing, is to make everything chain signals. So basically, any train that's going through, it limits your throughput. You know, you're not going to get the maximum number of trains. Say, things that I was saying where the train's going through here, lots of other trains could still use this junction. But I tend to play it super cautious because I've had a lot of train jams in my Factorio. I think they fixed a lot of some of the issues that have, you know, were causing some of those things, particularly the trains driving around in loops and stuff. And taking junctions that they didn't need to take and all that sort of stuff. But so I tend to go super cautious. So what I think I'll do, and you can always edit each junction each time. If you needed more throughput, you could make it, you know, have better throughput basically. But so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these chain signals so that if there is any train sat in this bit here, because it's a 141, 2, 4, 5, like that. If a train was sat at this junction, so if there's a blocking train here, then it would drive up to this, wouldn't it? And go past it. In fact, it would overlap into the junction, wouldn't it? So you see what I mean? So really, this should be a chain signal as well. And then no train is ever going to come through until it can get to this point. But then that's going to be red anyway. I think I'm not going to be able to do that, am I? Yeah, I'll just have to... If we make these chain, and that's as sort of close as we can get to cautious as... You know, it gives us a bit of room to play with, but trains are still going to potentially be stuck in there if there is another train there. Also, the other thing, the big thing to avoid really, is having another junction right close. That's how you really stop log jams. So if that was, you know, another T-junction there, you'd basically have to chain signal a whole load of stuff to stop it log jamming. So we'll ignore that issue and assume that, you know, you can kind of get away with change that. And I say these could be regular rail signals. That's what a good one to be, a regular rail signal. But so we'll just make the assumption that it's sort of cautious, but I guess not as maximally cautious as it could be. So yeah, so we got chain signals on the outs then, haven't we? Wait. I've got that the wrong way around. That should be... Because that's the output. The train would be left-hand drive coming up there. Yeah, so that's the output. This is the input. And what we can do, so if that's the out there, then, so basically the entire junction will be change signaled to try and be a bit cautious. But what you want to do is you basically want a signal before every junction. Sometimes you can't put them in. Because it doesn't let you, so I can't put signal on that here, basically. Which is a point, actually. We probably want one there. Because we can have one here. But really, we wouldn't have a problem with a train getting all the way up there. I'm trying to fit it into this area, basically. That's what I really want. Because we could obviously make it a lot bigger. But then it wouldn't really match the current train, junction size, as it were. And I could do other things. I mean, you don't have to... I do normally make them a lot bigger. And that's kind of why. But, you could put a sneaky line here. And that would give more room. And it will let us do signals there. But then it overlaps in a way that I don't want. I mean, is that... I also quite like it to match the other junction. This curvy one. We could always redo this one, though. I mean, if it was... Because the other option we had, or what we had before, was that it wasn't there, it was there. Does that help with... So where was it? It was... No. There? No. So it's like that, wasn't it? The first design. Oh. Get rid of that. I should use the blueprint... sorry, the deconstruction planner, really, shouldn't I? So then this would need to be... Because that's the current junction. So it would need to be there. And then... Oops. That's the current one? No. That's the current one. So it'll be that. Because you can set the deconstruction planner to just do diagonals and stuff. It's quite cool, actually. Because we used to have to build diagonal pieces of track. The corners, basically. They were a separate piece. So if it was more like this... So in other words, it's not this curve. It's the slightly wider one. So it's the... that one being slightly wider. And I guess, I mean, I could also... Even if I kept it this design... this curve, as it were... We do have a little bit of room... Oh, no, we don't. I thought we might be able to sneak that one further up, but it wouldn't work. Because if... Yeah, that's a separate thing, isn't it? Excuse me. Right, so if it was this... It works then, doesn't it? Yeah, because that gives me... I can still put that one in, and that one. But then I have the option, and I can't put anything... No, I can put one there. And one sort of here. and one. I'm trying to put them in places that is, I don't know about attractive, but not terrible looking. So then we want one. Can I move that? I can move that. There we go. Give it a bit of symmetry, you know, so it doesn't look too horrendous. So let's trace it through. So basically, at the moment, I've got it set so that everything is chain signals. So no train will enter this junction unless it has a clear route out, in quotes, because a train could easily be sat here and therefore preventing, or rather it could be sat at this. Let's just put it in. I keep doing that. I should just use my template there. So a train could be sat at this junction here. Sorry, this signal here, because it can't go anywhere because there's some other junction or something, and that then prevents any train from getting any further than this signal here, doesn't it? So if it moved forward, no, sorry, because this is, sorry, I've been done there. A train could sit at this junction. There we go, like that. So in other words, there could be a train here, you know, further forward, that turns this red. No, that's fine, isn't it? Because if that was empty, it would just go through. If there's a train there, in any way, shape or form, whether it's overlapping or not, then it'll stop any train entering that junction, so that's okay. Okay, so if a train was coming from the left-hand drive, coming up here, it either wants to go that way or that way. I need a signal there, don't I? No, I've got one, sorry. Going mad. So that prevents those two crashing. This prevents this from crashing here. Trains, of course, are coming that way. Don't I need... No, that's fine. So those will prevent those two from crashing. So if a train was coming this way, it would come up here. That prevents it from crashing into anything there. That prevents them from crashing. If a train is coming this way, then it... yeah, so it can crash there. Sorry, it can go through there and not crash. Go across there and not crash there. That prevents it crashing from that one. And it can go through. There we go. I made that really, really complicated, I think. And so you can do, so you can actually, I mean, this one in particular could quite easily be a regular signal. This here. Because I say, if you think about it, you want this to be a chain, and that could be a regular signal. There are sort of tweaks you can do that would optimize throughput a bit better. You know, but let's assume that this is a basic rail system for a basic base. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so we want to blueprint all of that. And then we want to check it connects to everything, because we've obviously got other options. This could be this way round. So with this current design, you're going to have to replace some signals. I think that's just inevitable, really. Well, that's that. So it fits in there, fine. Yep. What else might you be doing? It might be, I guess, adding it on there. Again, you're going to need to place some signals. Then you might be adding it on at the other end. You're going to need to replace that one. Well, I suppose you don't have to. You could just leave them. They are the end signals, so it's not going to make a huge difference. But yeah, so that's that. And then you would be coming along. And where's my straight bit? Going on to there. Oops. Didn't hold shift when I did that. So it connects all up properly. Cool, okay. But I need to tweak this one, don't I? So if it's the so that it's the same. So we want to go one extra further over. Like that. Connect that over there. So it's uglier, but you know. The reason I want it to be the same is in case you came along and sort of said, right, oh, instead of that, I want a T-junction. And now you can just plop that in. Obviously, the power poles go a bit wonky. But that's kind of... well, it is what it is. But it should fit in, you know, to any of that junction there. Without you having to pull up the track and relay it. You can just stamp this on top. I say you probably have to, or want to sort the signals out a bit, but... or the power poles anyway. That's why I've matched them up. Oh, don't want that stuff. Okay, so that's the T-junction. Crossroads. Am I going to bother? I say I absolutely avoid them like the plague. Oh, I need to do that one as well, don't I? And they would probably need to. It's not going to fit in that same space, I don't think. So I couldn't. Would it fit in there? Oh, sorry. You want me to take out them? Because basically you can do them like that. You can just plop them in. But yeah, I can't put the rails on top and make that work. So what we could do is we could do a special, if you absolutely had to do a crossroads and make it in the equivalent of 2. So basically, I don't know where the middle is now. So that's the middle there. Okay. So you could come in, you know, and put them. And this is one of the other things, pain in the bum with a crossroads. Doesn't quite cross over properly because of the 2x2 grid. So if I was to do, because you know I don't want to because I can't reuse that, but we basically need it to fit into this space, don't we? So what would you want to be doing with that crossroads? You'd probably want, I say that to tie up nicely with that corner, maybe. So if you were putting that across, not corner, that power pole basically. So if it was there, what happened there? That was a bit weird. Because that's the centre point. And you need this to be like there. This is not ideal on many levels, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Hmm. The reason it's like that is because they're at max length and it doesn't like match, if you see what I mean. So that isn't the 2x2 grid. It's because they're one further over, but I can't do it one. So that's the center point for the rail pieces, and that's the center point for the power lines. Well, it sort of doesn't matter because I'm not going to have one in the middle. So really, it's fine if it's there, because that's where you would actually have the trains. It's just I need to make sure the power connections across match, as it were, so that you don't have to randomly put in extra power lines to get it all to match. It's just what I was hoping for, is that you could come and stamp it over the top, but that's just not going to work, is it? Okay, but this is the centre point here. And these are the two, so you would have... See, it doesn't even match there either. So if that's a railway point there, that needs to be one further up. Is that right? No, one further down. Okay. So we would have two pieces of rail like that. And what I usually try and do is say sort of give as much space, really, more than anything else. So you kind of need these diagonals. Are you covering both? Because we... Oh, there's no signal there. Why is there no signal there? Because that would be there. And then this would be... That's that one there. And then we want this one here. Oh, what happened there? I guess because it's punted slightly that way, isn't it? I say because of the mismatch of the things, and also I put them offset as well, so it's not quite going to match. But if we go there, so there's the feeling that it's not going to be symmetrical. In fact, it isn't, is it? Because what I need for symmetry is for that one to be the point. Wait. So if that rotates round, it becomes that one. That one rotates round, it becomes that one. So the problem... So it should be coming out of there. Yeah, and that becomes indeterminate. Why is that not working? Because that's rotationally that one. And that one's rotationally that one. And that one's rotationally them as well, but not. How odd. I think it's just because it's, I say, it's sort of punted over slightly, but strange. Because basically if I take this, right, and rotate it, oh, it does match, okay. Oh, it does match, but it doesn't match. The power poles are in different places. Why would that be, and how can I fix that? So if that was like that... I mean, it's because I'm moving it, basically. There's not really a way to fix that, I don't think. God, I hate crossroads. I think you'll just have to work with it. Say, I wouldn't want to use this anyway. Yeah, so we've now got basically the left-hand turn for every single one, as well as obviously the straight connection. So basically they also need a connection to here. So like this, basically. So they need this junction across here. But we kind of want to... Well, you can just pass everything through the middle, but... I'm not sufficiently clever to do one of these twisty designs people do. I just don't have the chops for doing that, I'm afraid. They look really awesome when people do them, but I just can't get my head around putting them together. But yeah, we basically want to go from here to here, to this rail. Now we can do that in one of several ways. So we can just pass through the middle. You know, through this centerpiece. Or we can pass across some of these junctions like this. Like that. Now, if I did that, we would potentially have some options for extra signalling. And we could go one further back, I think. That is that one. So we want there. Yeah, so we could pass on either side, basically. Pass there or pass there. The advantage of putting them all together like that, or I think it does, is it's only like a tiny little bit that's blocked off every time. So if there's a train waiting here, you know, up the end here, you have to make some of these chains again, aren't I? But it's, you know, the bit that's sort of red is effectively this tiny little bit in the middle. Effectively. Do I want to go... Yeah, let's try going across that one. So, what I want to do, and it may not let me do, is rotate. So it should be that one, and that one. And it's effectively this junction. So differently oriented, because that's got the rail passing through the middle, basically. It's slightly differently oriented. So it's sort of moved that way. Okay, give that a go. Now, signalling it. Again, I'm just going to use chain signals. In a sort of a... Because say, if you do it that no train can enter any junction if there's another train, you know, there as it were, then that's the safest option, but it's terrible for throughput. But say, you want to avoid T-junctions anyway. So, if we're coming up here, then we want to prevent crashes from... Where should I put the junctions? Maybe put the signals right. I want to avoid crashes there. And then we... In fact, let's go round and do it. So, if you're coming down from there, and I put them as far up as I can. You want one there. There. And there. Right, and so this bit, how would we do this? So you've got a signal there. So we could bring it further closer in. And then sort of limit the amount that's blocked off. don't think it's quite as beneficial as I thought it was going to be, is it? Putting them like that, but okay. So, we're going to want a signal there. And then that's going to be that one, that one, that one. And then... Because there is a thing about, you know, when you've got two merging, we can't get any signals in here, so this is terrible, this design. Okay, okay, this was a bad idea. This was a bad idea. Okay. This was a bad idea. So the other way I guess we could do is like putting these further up here all together. Why don't I just cross through the middle? Say, I would avoid these like the plague, full stop anyway, because I just hate them. But let's just put it through the middle. And then we can signal outside. So that would be coming that way. Confuse myself. Hang on, so that would be there. And then we'll just sort of block off the centre section. Do I need one on? I do, don't I? Because trains are actually coming that way. Yeah, we'll block off the centre section, I guess. So, wait a minute. Where did I actually put that? So I put it a couple down. Do I need to put it a couple down, or can I just put it right on the edge? So you've then got a bit of the track that you just cannot enter at all. So do we need this signal? I mean, we don't technically, but it would be some kind of a concession to throughput. I think it's not great. I'm not gonna lie. What I normally do is the actual T junction is usually a double junction. It's one of the reasons I'm struggling with it. But say, I kind of want something that's a bit more elegant, bit more efficient, bit tighter. I say I would normally put the T junction. Oops. Being like, you know, the same size as this. So in other words, there would be that piece of straight row, and then you would have the T junction, you know, I say here, and that then gives me lots of room to play with. And what I usually do is basically take it and stamp down two of them, and then sort the signals out. So, you know, plop one of these down, turn it around and do that. But I can't do that here. Can I? Well, it's effectively what we've ended up with, isn't it? What's missing from that? What's missing is... Why can't... Oh, it can't go through because of signals. Essentially, that's what I built there. I say normally they'd be a lot more spread out, so I'm struggling a bit. We're thinking it through. Well, does it make any difference having these whacking great lobes to it? It doesn't really, does it? Not actually achieving a great deal. Okay, let's not do it that big. It's probably going to end up having to be a bigger blueprint, but if we take all of this up, like that, just take out all of the signals and everything. And plop it down. Oops. Just the power flows I want to get rid of. So this is where the signals would be if it was normal. Or it was, you know, that one doubled up. Is that... Oh, seem to have lost a signal there. It's a bit messy, but I think it's okay because the other one's okay. The question though is, where do I put power poles? That's the next bit. We could put them sort of, you know, there and there, something like that. No, we couldn't because that doesn't connect. Where could we put them? That would allow. It's annoying, isn't it? Is that because these are in the right place, aren't they? If I do that, so maybe if I just sort of mimic that. Wait, why are those offset? Was that just me being a duffer? I think it was, wasn't it? Right, yeah, I think we're just going to have to have something like that, really. Yeah. I mean, I could put them maybe... Would that work? Somewhere there? Where's that? So that's there. That's there. Oh, it's got a little arrow shape. Cool, so I think that works. It's not an elegant solution, but it's a solution. Question is, these signals, do I keep them in? I guess what would be the use case? You would be coming in, you would be... Where would you be putting it is the question. You would be trying to put it between two junctions, I guess, probably, mainly. So these signals could remain. Wait, why are there... Are there a closer one? Oh, I see the problem. So these should actually be... Where? 2, 3, 4. So sort of... 1, 2, 3, 4. There? Is that right? So if I grab that... Yeah, so it's there, there, and there. Not there. Yeah, okay, so if we blueprint that... Like so. You would have power poles there, I think, but then you would be able to just delete them. I have a feeling this isn't going to fit in quite the way I'm envisaging. Oh no, it does. So they line up. Yeah, that's okay. So you still have to get rid of the signals. I bet you could probably leave them, but yeah, you'd have to line up properly. It stamps over the top. And then you've got the option, I mean, you could do whatever really, but that connects there. Okay, sort of works. Bit horrible, but, and I bet the throughput's horrendous. But yeah, that'll do. Right, so that's the terror that is the crossroad. Let's get this one done. How would I be doing that? So I remember adding those to the Mega Base series. Quite late in the day. So, I guess what we would actually be doing is coming along and just wanting to take a... Oh, there it is. So you got your rail already, and you're just wanting to stick something on the side, like a station, or maybe you're out in the boonies, and you just want a branch to a new, you know, there's an oil patch here, there's an oil patch, for example, there, and you just want to have a branch that goes down there. It's never going to, you know, say this is where the main base is. All you're going to do is just take a branch off, grab that, and then the trains are just going to come back. They're never going to turn right as well. Okay. So you would be trying to put one of these in. But with signals, basically. That's the point. Because you need extra signals if it's crossing over, rather than a 90-degree turn. Okay. So, where would the extra signals be? I mean, that's a rail signal, isn't it? So, that's actually technically fine, but might be worth... Because this train is just going to come along, barrel along here. And there's never... I mean, the only obstruction would be if a train is sat across the junction or something in some way. But then that's going to be thingy, isn't it? But this would only be... This would be red if there was a train in this block. If a train had moved to this block, the right-hand turn, it's covered by that, stopping it going down there, but we don't care. The train could blast past that way. Yeah, that'd be fine. This then is I think we just leave this. If you're doing this, you're probably, as I say, not actually too fussed about hundreds of trains passing this way. So I think we can leave the regular signals on all of these points. It's just the crossing bits. So if we've got two trains trying to... Whoops. I'll tighten that up. There you go. Cross there, then you can create a block there. If you're coming this way... Ooh, do we need to replace that? I mean, we could move this whole thing that way. It's a bit non-central, isn't it? I think I'd prefer that, actually. So instead of here, we make it, say, there. Like that. So it's a bit more in the middle. So I'm not sure we could get it in the middle because of the grid system. But, yeah, I think I prefer that. So it's the same curve, but it's just, you know, offset, as it were. That's fine. But we lost a signal somewhere there. No, we didn't. There it is. So if you're coming that way, then you might crash into a train there. Yeah, we'll put a chain here to carry that signal back, I think. So if there's a train waiting in this, we don't want this end being entered at all. Yeah. Similarly, if this is going this way, I don't think that's an issue, is it? That was that there. Yeah, no, we need to carry that back, I think. Where can we put that? If we put that there. So that's saying if there's a train waiting down here, this is red, and carry that all the way back to here. So we want the trains waiting there, you know, not here, basically. Isn't that what that achieves then? It does, but this then it can cross over quicker. Is that everything? Shouldn't be too many signals. So the only options are train going that way, and that's stopping crashes and conflicts there. That's stopping crash and conflicts there. A train going this way. So only conflict is that one. Train going this way. Conflicts here. Which are covered. Or going straight through. Cool. So that's the branch one. Seems like it would be a niche use, but I actually used it loads, as I say, in my mega base. Attempt. Put that in. Get you sorted back out again. Right, what next then? I guess next... Does that give us all of the 90-degree stuff? I think it does. Because you've got the branches off. I guess it effectively also branches in. Default the same. I guess, actually, thinking about it, I need the other one. Yeah, I do, don't I? Because that would let me branch off if it was coming that way. I couldn't, and I can't flip it. So we actually need the mirror image as well. Because I can rotate but not flip. Okay, so what we can do to get that very quickly is simply take the signals out. All of them. Put that on that. Then we can flip it. Wrong. That's right, flip, yeah. Now we can flip it. So if we just put that down there. And then we want the old one. So we can see how we've signalled it. Which is one there. Did I put it right on the junction? I did. Use the... So what I'm doing there, because it can be sometimes a bit weird that you can't sort of... I mean, you can here, I think, because of how I'm doing it. But if you hit the R key, rotate key, it'll flip to the nearest other piece of rail. So that's connecting there. Just a little quirk of how it does it. I don't think it ever explains that, but that's how you do it, basically. Right, and then this needs... What would these be? These would be here and here, wouldn't they? And then, so we've got the cross, and then you got one after. And where have I put that? Have I put that right on the... Yeah, it's furthest down it will go. So that's there. And then these two joining. Wait, trains are coming from that way now, aren't they? So that's not where we want that. We actually want it... It doesn't really matter, I don't think. But what am I doing here? So that's going that way. So we want... Which is breaking my brain a little bit, that. So you want... Because you don't care about that, but you do care about that now. So actually, you probably want that. You're coming from this way now, so you want to wait there. And we do want those. Put like that. So we've got trains coming in from the left. Merging with there. Oops. Merging with there. We've got trains coming in from the top, bottom. Crossing over that track. We've got trains going from the right. And waiting there. I mean, we could have one in there. Did I bother with that here? I didn't, but then it's sort of further over to that direction. Do I want one there? No, I don't even bothered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's got the same number of chain signals, so I think that's right. So, oh, where's the book gone? Oh, there's the book. So we got 2 there. Oh, technically they don't. Does that matter? Because technically these don't line up in the sense that, you know, if you use one from that direction, it creates a train line in a different place, as it were. When it doesn't, because you'd probably be doing that, actually. Why would you be doing 2 on the same? I think that's fine. That's fine. Right, let's get rid of all of that. Right. Is that everything? Yes and no. We now need to consider diagonals. We now need to consider diagonals. We need to do stations as well. What am I going to do about diagonals? I mean, I could do... So one thing's... Am I going to bother with diagonals? Diagonals get a bit painful, in my experience. So if this was the end piece of the track, and this is the... Well, we'll just lay out sort of a piece of it, basically. And then, I mean, you've got 2 options with diagonals, obviously. But is it, you know, is it going to do an S shape effectively? Or, you know, a extended sort of corner effectively? You know, is it going to go back on itself? Oops, like that? Or is it going to do that down there? So we need to cover both of those. And that should then also then allow us to do diagonals in the other direction, but we'll have to test that. So if this was the thing there, and then this is where you're going to connect to your straight rail again. Except we can't, and I say there's this good old 2x2 grid issue. It's weird how often it causes headaches, given it's an even number. You'd think it would be easier, but yeah, they're not aligned. So how would we fix that? Well, for one thing, we don't have to have these maximum length. So if we move one in, So I think that may sort it. So if that's maximum. So, well, fundament, does that tile on itself? Yeah, so they fit to themselves. Would it fit if this was a... No. No, of course that hasn't worked. Why would that work? Why would that work? I mean, who would even consider that sensible? So what I think I need to do is actually it's both the rail in the wrong place. So if that was the rail there, still not right. There. No. What am I doing wrong there? There? Yes, there we go. So that's where the rail is. That's where the rail is. Now, what we then want to do... Oh, I moved these, didn't I? Bum. So let's try that whole exercise again. I guess there is the option. We could just have a like a start point for a diagonal, and that connects to this, but then it connects to diagonal. Yeah, that's what we need, isn't it? Really, I think. So then we can have these max length. It's just the bit that connects here needs to line up properly. Oops. Oops. Whatever it ends up looking like now. So that we would have a connecty point there that worked. Now, do these, if I... No. So why is that wrong? So it would need to be... Ah, here we go. This is the... You need to put these slightly further in. Issue, I think. Rearing its head. Is that right? Oh, you don't have to do diagonals at all. I just quite like having the option. So, if that's the corner there, and that needs to become the corner there. That. So you tile there. But do you tile here? I bet you don't tile anymore, do you? So they fit, they fit, they fit. Okay. Does this connect to this? Yes. Okay, so signals notwithstanding, the power poles and rail are located in places that work. I think. So, if this is the... It gets tricky in this as well, because like I've done that offset, it sort of doesn't really work properly. I think that's the equivalent for a diagonal. Let's have a look, see. So if that was rotated that way, so they at least connect. If we then grab that, put one there, oops, and see what this does. So that's the same. So if I grab sort of that section, the signals are the same. Okay? So what we really need is this but going the other way, because this junction is just rotationally that one. And what we want is the option to go up like that in the diagonal like that as well. That's fine. So we've got the sort of transition type to diagonal. How much of that do I need? I probably need a little bit more than that. So if I redo that one. Oh, why is that not in the... Wait. Oh, that's the blank one, isn't it? So I can just bin that. Yeah, so this is the diagonal one. So I... Oops. Probably need a bit more track than that to help me match it up. So it probably needs something a bit more like that. And then the actual diagonal. Let's what? Let's take it from there? No, from there? No, from there to there? Oh, I didn't. But that bit needs to go. We're missing a signal. That's not quite right, is it? Whoops. So if I... What else do I need on that? I need... Which bits are... So I probably need one more there. And that takes us to there. And then this needs to go past, but then... So we've lost that signal. That signal, not the that signal. So that signal. So it's on that piece of track. And then there's one past it. So it's on, oops, that piece of track, and then there's one past it. And then, yeah. No wonder it didn't grab the signal, because that's not quite right, is it? Should be doing it on that one. So it's that one. Oops. Oops. Alright. Because it's that piece, that piece, that piece, that piece, and that piece. Yeah, okay. It gets very wonky with diagonals, as I say. But so I like to have them occasionally. So if I just grab that for the time being, and then we just kill off all that stuff rubbish there. I missed something there. No, that's fine. Tiling then, or you know, snapping to grid. Crikey. Obviously, it needs to be relative. What bit do I want to overlap? What I want to overlap is like power poles there. In fact, we kind of want to do it the half size again. So if I make that 23 for the moment and 29. That's not quite right, but I think it's only like one tile off in each direction. Are you going to work? No. Why is that not matching up? Because that is too far to the right and too far down, so it's not worked at all. Brilliant. So actually, if I maybe make it 20, 26. That doesn't seem right, but so if that's, oh no. Right, height, but it's still too many tiles to the right. Tiles to the right. Tiles to the left. So maybe if we make it... Maybe it just needs to be a square? The grid snapping can be a bit weird. Oh, no, you didn't mean to do that, did you? I'll be totally honest, there's not a lot of point doing that, because it is going to do that, because you can't really... Oh, no, it's okay. Oh, no, there you go, you see. It puts down... Because you have to be in exactly the right position. I think it's easier to do it via the map. In fact, it's easier to do it without shift key. That's right. Oh no, there you go. So we could have... Well, we could turn snapping off. You see what I mean? It's throwing them all over the place. I think probably just no snapping. No snapping, please. No snapping at all. So it's a bit more of a niche use case, but for them anyway, so... Not fussed about that. Right. So we've got the diagonal transition, which works for both of those sides. Sort of tiles in itself anyway, so you could do that fairly easily. But we need the opposites. An easy way of getting them again is simply to take out the signals and flip. Wrong flip. Flip. Oh, did I not cut and paste? Hang on. No. What am I doing? Get rid of them. Cut. Clip. Stamp. Cool. Insert signals. So we should be able to just sort of run up and it should be where it needs to be. That didn't look right, does it? So if that was the new blueprint, it's sort of right, but I don't know. Because the inner one is closer. Yeah, hopefully that's okay. And then I bet this won't tile with it. Yeah, that's always an issue. It won't tile with it because it's not... So what we could do is make this more... In fact, it doesn't tile with that one either. Of course it doesn't. What we need to do with it... Oops, is actually chop these corners off. I think. So we just want one piece of track past the thing. So that should tile with that one. Yeah, and that should tile with that one. Not quite. Why not? It's got one extra piece of track there. No. There? That seems strange. Nice tile though. Did it tile with itself? Still? Yeah. What about with you? No. Oh, yes. So it would... Well, yes and no. Obviously, with the caveat that signals are in a different place. Do I want to sort that out? Do I care? What would be the... How would you sort that? I'm not sure you could. If you put that there... Where would it need to be? Wait, which ones were the ones that were added? So it's this one. So actually, pop that down. No. That one. So you see it matches there. Doesn't match there. So how would you sort that? So if we actually wanted this to match, it doesn't work anyway because these are going to have to extend. I wonder if we could do that instead. So if it's that piece there, oops, and wait, there, then does that work? So if I put there, I need to be careful with that because I need to take the. But let's pop that down. Take them out. Nice. Okay. So is that now super tileable? So if that was tiling with that, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. That'd be fine. That's not fine because why? It's lost rotational symmetry, hasn't it? If it fits that way and again doesn't fit that way. I don't think I can have them offset and it match both. But at least this way. I mean, effectively there's a right way and a wrong way round for the blueprint then. Which is not ideal. So, which ones do I need to redo? So this one... we sort of chop these back. Oops. So I think I've then got the 3 bits, as it were. But say they're going to have an orientation. But at least with this way, I say there is an orientation. Whereas with the other one, it just didn't work together at all. I think that might be the closest compromise without having absolute blueprints for everything. Do they work together? This is the big question. Let's get rid of them. Do it from clean. So you're coming along, you've got your straight bit of rail, and then you want to do a diagonal because there's a lake in the way or whatever. So you do one of them, and then you plop this in. Has to be that way round because the signals... I mean, it sort of doesn't matter. You could just plop it in anyway, but, you know, signals match that way. The blueprint tiles. And then it turns out you've got to do that junction. So there you go. It doesn't match. But say it sort of doesn't matter because it works anyway. And then you're going up straight bit of rail here. And now I've hit a lake. Brilliant. Let's get some terrain in here. Bit of grass. And then that's that one there. It's obviously that's rotationally fine. It doesn't matter which way you're around to use that. And then I guess you're using this one. So it connects to that. And again, it has an orientation. Obviously, that's cocked up there. But like that. And then, I don't know, whichever way around, you'll be using that one. Again, doesn't match properly. Or this one. they at least fit together is the basic point. So you've got some slight trickiness with some of the signals. The worst case there is what? That you're going to end up with double signals. Oh, hello, Grim. You alright? How's things? Cool. Okay. The next question is, do I do the off branch for a diagonal? So the equivalent of this for a diagonal. I think the answer is no. Because that's like a niche of a niche, basically. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do the diagonal, the offshoot diagonal. But we will... Oh, what am I doing? Put them in the wrong place. Put them in there. So that's diagonal, diagonal, diagonal. So what else do we need? In terms of plain rail, I don't think we need anything else, because we've got... I mean, you know... I want to give options in this. I don't think I want to go mad and have roundabouts or anything, because I was just never use a roundabout. I also kind of hate roundabouts. Like, I mean, not in the real world, but I just find them such a pain in the bum to even do, let alone if you put them in the game, you're just asking for trouble, basically. You also get that effect. I don't know if you can see that. It's not actually on either end because the two, you know, the 2x2 grid thing again, basically. So it never, I say, that's not, it's not a straight line, basically. That's not a continuous line across there. Yeah, I'm not going to do roundabouts. If you're doing roundabouts, you're not using my blueprints. Good, thanks. Just did my first art boss this run. Crikey, how are you doing? I'm not doing too bad. I've been sort of been some cleaning up this morning, so not anything particularly interesting, but gotta be done. Oh dear, I was a bit knackered. I've been a bit annoyed actually today because my neighbour's been. Well, one of my neighbours. I live in like a very quite a dense area of houses. It's like a full-on suburb, and somebody somewhere was basically spending all day hammering. I only finished about 5 minutes. I thought I was going to have to be apologising throughout the stream again, because I don't think it ever carries through, but I can hear it. But luckily they seem to stop about 5 minutes before, and they've not started again. But it's a reflection, I think, of, I say, because there's so many houses and therefore so many families. But throughout the summer, it's like one you know, building project, you know, DIY project happens, and then in one house, and then in the next house, and then in the next, and it's like the summer. It's why another reason I want to move. But it's like. I always thought it'd be great if they could coordinate the grass mowing, because it's like every weekend there's somebody mowing the lawn, and it's like, well, couldn't you all do it at the same time? And then we just have the one weekend, you know, filled with the drone of lawn mowers. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any other straight rails that I want to do, as it were. Cool. So what we need to do now then is stations, basically. It does feel like I've forgotten one of them. No, can't. If I have, I don't know what it is. So, typical, setup for a station would be a T-junction. Or, of course, one of these, depending on how your system is operating. But they both end at the same point with the same connections, basically. It's not quite right, but that's there. So what we want is basically something that connects on here and is a station. The question really is sort of how modular I want to do it. And do I want to include stackers? I mean, so my standard way of doing it, basically, what I always end up doing, I'll just throw this up. No, let's put it in properly, because then, if it's the way I want to do it, it's there already. But I basically have a stacker. And you have to... so what we really want... What do we really want? Let's put it on the top, because it's actually confusing me a little bit there. Let's put it on the top. Yeah, so you would have a T-junction like that. So I've designed this one so that it fits in that gap. And then... well, I mean, you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter. But basically... I would usually have... Oops. See if I can get this train in here. So it would be this one. So where would I want to put that? Maybe sort of down there somewhere. And then typically I put a stacker here, you see. Should be able to... Oh, no. Why are you not at work? Why is it not letting me... I guess it's because it's the signals messing it about, is it? Why'd I put that? No. Okay, don't do that then. It's fine. Why aren't you letting me put a signal there? There we go. Game's being weird at me. So, that there. And then you want your... If it'll let me put them in now. No, it won't. Why are you letting me put them there? It'll be... it'll be because there's... Oh, wait. No, that's right. So it's on the right-hand side. So that would be the out one. So that would need to be a... right chain. Because you might have a train that's gone out here. But if it's got past that point, then that's fine. Well, it doesn't really matter. But... oh, it lets me put them there now. It's very strange. So is that... no, the train's not actually at the station, is it? Hang on. Huh. I guess because that's the blueprint. Alright, fine, fine. Fine, fine, whatever, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, so I say, well, and then I have a stacker usually. We should be able to use this here. Like that. And then we put a bunch of... Come on. That's too close, isn't it? Yeah. So it needs to be the one further up there. So we want to go... No, don't do that. There we go. Like that. And then you see I loop back. This is wrong. This is not how I usually do it. What have I done wrong now? What have I done wrong now? So that's not... What have I done wrong now? It comes in there. That's it, I think. And normally... This is weird. I'm not quite understanding what I've done wrong there. Just put that there so it's not... Doesn't go weird on me. And then I put this thing there. Oops. Yeah, that's... So what did I do wrong? I don't know. I need to tweak it, but it's roughly that. I don't quite understand what I did wrong first time there. Right. Anyway. We want that a bit further there. This is probably not long enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it needs to be a bit further up there. Bit of a brain fart moment there, I think. I don't know quite what was wrong with me there. So that's a chain signal. And then that's a regular signal. So I don't think it really matters. But we can move this further up. Whoops. So that junction could be right on the edge there. And then so this doesn't feel right somehow. I don't know what. I don't know what I've done wrong. Unless it's just because I've been stamping them down. It's ages since I actually did a blueprint. I don't know. Oops. I mean, this can be squished as well, can't it? This doesn't need to be... It can be right up close there. But let's put it there. And then that can be squished as well. Got one little bit. Like that. A train should now still fit in that gap. 2, 3, 4, 4. Oops. We don't need that bit of straight rail there particularly. This can go there. So I don't quite know. So there, 2, 4. So actually this needs to move up. Just plop it up there for the time being. So I don't know if you're still there, Grim, but what is the first boss? Because I know you mentioned monkey flinging poop before. I don't imagine that's the first boss, but I assume they're all animal themed in some way. Right. So that... Oh, there is one bit... oh, no, that's the maximum curve there. So that needs to be... Chain signal so it mirrors that one. But that one is... working for that junction. Yeah, so these can be chains up here, and this is also we can get a bit of squishing in. Wait, what are you connecting to there? You're not connecting the right way around. It's because I'm putting it on the wrong bit of track. That's why. Wait, why have those gone all wonky? That's there. Why does that not look like a straight line? I think I'm having a real... I'm having a mental breakdown, wasn't I? It just feels wrong somewhere, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So that could be there. So we could squish this up. So the closest this is something like that. So no, we couldn't really I mean, we could, because I could take it around the corner. So we could have that be the thing there. Which means this can go around the corner. Sometimes I'm getting in a bit of trouble with that though, because, well, when you try and add trains on with corners, it's a bit erratic how it behaves. So again, we could move it closer. Maybe there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'd be something like that. So it can be a bit weird with how it puts the trains on sometimes. It'll flip it round randomly. You don't have to do them in order, but I did the... I don't know how you pronounce that. Megaphyticus? First, it was the King Kong boss on medium. It lasted 10 seconds against 5 of my Rex and 1 UT. I may have over-prepped. Sounds like you'd absolutely decimated it. I'm guessing they've made it easier for single player than on multi. Oh, right. Yeah, it's a bit... Yeah, it probably scales, I imagine. The reason I think what's causing me problems is that I'm used to them being longer. If that makes sense. I'm used to them being sort of... like wider, if you see what I mean. So this would be, you know, a bigger shape this way. So this isn't... it's not feeling right because I have squished... I mean, so I would normally... you know, this would be up here. But say this still doesn't feel right somehow. So they come in either of those two directions. They queue up in the stacker. They do whatever I'm going to do with them there. And then they exit out the system. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, maybe it's because I'm usually doing them vertically. Design them like that. And then the exit is straight down. I think that's it. I think that might be my mental blockage because I think what I would normally actually do is like put one of them in. Would I? And then it'd be something like this. Aligned to this. So it'd be more like that sort of a corner. What I could do, could I? If I loaded up the mega base. Because actually 10 to 6, I'm almost finished here. I kind of assumed I would throw this in. But there's something wrong with this and I can't put my finger on it. Let's save this here and I'll load up the mega base and see what they look like. So save that. So if I load, this is going to take like 20 minutes because it's got loads of, not 20 minutes, but have I got something else I could load up? Maybe one of my super old, but then it'll go on about. This is the series I was doing on YouTube as a proper Let's Play. And I ran out of steam on the editing. If I... Because I'm not sure I've got the megabases anymore. They were so big. It was like half of my Steam sink. So if I load that up, what are you going to do? You're going to go black screen. If we just do no. Where's a train? See, that's an 484 maybe or something anyway. Oh, right. Maybe that's the problem. Why do I do double-ended trains then if... What? Oh, there you go. So that's... maybe that's it. Maybe I don't normally... Huh. Because have I got any older trains? I don't think I have, actually. Because I've obviously transitioned to... whatever, 282 or something, whatever. Oh, that's an older one. So where's the other end of that? So that's uranium. Wonder if there's somewhere loading uranium in. Must be somewhere. There, maybe? Oh, that's just a regular one. So I've done loops. This is why I need standard blueprints, you see, because I've done loops. On the collection side. And then I've done, you know, in-outs on the unload side. But I've done them in line here. I've not done them side by side, which is what I always thought I normally did. Have I got any other games I can load up? I mean, these would be ancient. Yeah. What did I have in my test map? So this would have been what I was doing with the mega base, I think. Here it goes. So this is what I normally do. So why is it causing me so much problem now? So it's comes in. Well, why don't I stick this in my blueprint and I can look at it in the other thing. So I'll plop that there, and then let's load up the blueprint series. So one we just saved there, and then we can plop this down and see what's causing me so much problem. Okay. So yeah, it's a vertical design, basically. I mean, I've happened to orientate it, but it's a vertical design. And I think what's causing me the issue... Why would that be an issue? Idiot. I want to get rid of it, not blueprint it again. So what is the mental block going on here? Maybe I've just not had enough sleep. But no, it is different, isn't it? Because it's straight there. And then this is a corner here. But yeah, okay. Why does that not fit? Oops. That's more like it. I have no idea what was causing me to throw a bit of a wobbly there. Because they're not spectacularly different to what I had. I think maybe, was I orientating it on the input side? I don't know. I don't know. That feels right now. And I don't quite know what's different, but it is different. I don't know what I've done there. No, I don't understand. I mean, one thing that is different is that I've put the stacking is on that side, on that design. Is that going to make any difference? I don't think it makes any difference really, does it? It's effectively, you know, the stackers are here. Like that. So I can't see how that would make any difference. It's just obviously a choice I made on that one. No. Because that would still need to be... Because basically you're limited by that the radius of that curve. You can't pack anything in more tightly than that. What we could do is be weirder and like have stacking on both sides, so we could have two, you know, the trouble with, you know, and then put two on this side as well, so two there and two there sort of thing. It would make it so it would squish it in a teeny bit, but the trouble with when you do things like that is if these are all going to different places and you end up with two queued behind each other, that, you know, I mean, I suppose they're all queuing for this, so it doesn't sort of matter, but it can be a bit funny. Maybe they've changed this, but it can be a bit funny. If you've got four waiting here, about which one goes in, it's not always the first that arrived. I don't know how it does the logic, so we're better off not doing that. I mean, we could, because you can, I mean, actually, I mean, there's going to be, you effectively got, it's about 6, but you would actually have capacity for 5. So you'd have 1 in the station, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it can handle up to 6 trains. So it's a bit of a mega you know, mega station really. And you can also, I mean, I tend not to do it because they get a bit log jammed. But we could have a version of it like that. And then you can come on down and basically attach the stacker. Oops. It sort of swings and roundabouts, really. So what we do need is, because this would be the decision point, wouldn't it? I think that's okay. But that's not necessarily going to be there. So if we have one here as well, because they basically act as decision points when you have multiple options, and I think it does recalculate them then. But it's 6 o'clock. I'll go a little bit longer because whatever that brain fart was seems to have stopped me. But yeah, this is the sort of generic station, I guess. And can I fit trains in there? Or did I accidentally squish this up in some way? No, so that's fine. And you see, I mean, this from this, you know, this was different mega base one because I was actually doing 484, which are bigger than I normally do. I normally do 141 and then 282. But I kind of figured with a mega base, I wanted trains absolutely barreling around maximum speed, you know. But made everything even bigger. Cool. Okay, so yeah, happy with that. And of course, I mean, you know, I've got the 90-degree corner, so you can put it in there and just have them parallel with the track or whatever, basically. But this is the basic unit. I'm sort of second guessing myself now because of that. So we need like a loading version, an unloading version. But what I'm thinking is we have a generic, going with my approach of a more modular system for this blueprinty thing. And basically, it's that bit that I rework, so it's not the entire station. So if it's a loady one, this bit you replace. If it's an unloady one, it's this bit that you replace. Because I also want to do, if we just put in a generic thing like that, I also want to do different loaders and unloaders. We could put a signal in here. Because as I say, you would have a train stacked on there and actually a second one would fit in there. Should we do that? I mean, might as well. Would that cause problems though? If a train... If we have that there, say, probably could be there. Because that's long enough. But if a train is coming in and it's saying, right, I want to go... The problem would be if you allocated too many trains, but if it's ending up a generic system where it's just, you know, all, you know, processing, the trick is to have your logic system account for the number of trains that you can have in any station and hard cap it at that. But if we have that there, then a train's waiting there, that would go red. But if a train's waiting there, as I say, that's like the maximum one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trains. And you couldn't actually have enough material in boxes. Well, you could. I mean, you could double stack the boxes, but actually, if I add on a power pole, and a radar. Oh, have I even got any? I don't think I've got any radars. Yes, I have. There we go. Power pole and a radar. Because I always like to have them in all my stations. Then I think that's our generic station. Because we should be able to reach... No, we can't. Okay. I was hoping that might reach over, but it does not. So if this was where you wanted the loading to be, maybe I just keep that there. That's the maximum distance. I normally put that in line with the station, but I figure this is probably better way of doing it, keeping it out of the way. So you would need a thing there, but then if we're going to have some logic system, it's probably going to be fitting in that gap anyway. Oh no, this is the back end, isn't it? But if you want some kind of, you know, thing. Do I include this? The question is, do I include this power pole in this blueprint or the generic one? If it was there, would it connect to that? It would. Okay. Yeah, we'll have that power pole on as well. Yeah, okay. So, right, so we got the generic one. Tomorrow we will pick up and finish off the stations, and then I'll kick in and try and do the playthrough with... Oh no, I need to do oil. I completely forgot again. We'll have to do oil then, I guess, as well. So I may not get to the playthrough this weekend, to be honest with you, but there you go. Right, so we don't want the train. We don't want the trace stop name. We don't want those, because you could be connecting it to anything. But everything else is okay. Right, yeah, so that's it for today. I will be back tomorrow, same sort of time, 3 o'clock. Continuing this series, Factorio blueprint series. I will finish off these train blueprints. We probably would have got this done if I hadn't had that brain fart, and I don't know what was causing that, but this feels more familiar, normal, etc. So happy with that. Yeah, and then we'll do oil. I'll do the oil blueprints. And if there's time, we will start on the playthrough version. We probably wouldn't get very far if we do. If it takes a couple of hours to do the oil, I won't start that. I'll figure something else out. We could do. I mean, we could start doing the bus design, or we could do upgraded defences. You know, if my new blueprint has lasers in it, we could add those into the, you know, that generic simple wall side of things. Yeah, so if you have been watching, I guess I should show the schedule again. Rather than just prattle on. Yeah, so I say, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same series. Monday will be Dyson's Sphere program again, where we're still proliferating. We are proliferantly proliferating. Yes, more blueprints tomorrow. If you want to catch me in elsewhere, so obviously there's Twitch. With the you can follow me there and catch all these streams live. But they're also uploaded to my YouTube channel, which is Trismegistus, but alias to Triggles, as that's easier to say. And then I guess there's Twitter as well, if you really wanted to follow me there. So if you have been watching, thanks for doing so, and I hope you enjoyed it, and you might consider coming back for another one. I've been Trismegistus. This has been Factorio. Thanks for watching. Cheers.